Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this? Great, thanks. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 25th of April, which is a Monday. So happy Monday, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. This morning we've had a little bit of activity in these indices, and they all seem to be pretty much tracking together. It looks to me like for some reason the NQ today wasn't quite as maybe that's just my perspective, but it looks like the NQ wasn't quite as active as, especially YM and the ES were almost identical this morning. Gold is in a real tight, choppy range. I don't know if anybody took any gold trades this morning, but it didn't want to give too much away. And then crude oil, there's been a lot of, we're back to the geopolitical news kind of driving crude oil for the time being. The bonds this morning, bonds had a wonderful classic apex trade this morning. I love that thing. I went back, I'll show you what the bond one looks like because it's so, I mean, this is just right out of the apex textbook this morning. I went back to the 4-tick. Lori keeps telling me she likes 4-ticks better on bonds, and so I went back to 4-ticks, and I have to admit, I think she's right. I think I like it better too. But anyway, this morning, and it was at a reasonable time, you know, not like 2:30 or 3 in the morning, but it was right here about 8:30. Bonds put this perfect P and E up, so you could take it right there if you were a little leery about settlement and the red ice being right there. There's nothing wrong with waiting, and it gave a touchback. It wasn't a great one, but a little one back to the settlement, and then down it went, and that was a really nice trade for about 16.13 down to it went I mean 10 ticks easily, but you could have had some more out of that. So those are really, really nice when they do that. This is an absolute classic apex. And let's see where the A was from, way back Friday afternoon. But boy, this was perfect. So I don't know if anybody else saw that or took advantage of it. This morning also, we've had a lot of chat this morning about volume, and some really good questions about volume and how do you know, I mean, how do you correlate volume with trend? If you get a lot of volume, does that mean it's going up? Or no, not necessarily. But at least our indicator will tell us if it's exceeding volume. The problem with that is you don't know if that's, buyers or sellers. So that is the big reason why I like to have this time and sales up. And I have a little time and sales. You can modify these. You can squish them up and make them fatter and whatever fits in your workspace. You get this right off of the control. You go to File, New, and all the way down here at the bottom is time and sales. So you click on that, and it will pop one of those up for you. Then what you have to do is, I'll get this over in the middle here. You have to right-click on this and put whatever instrument you want. And it takes it right from your instrument manager list. Whatever you have put on your instrument manager list, that's where you find what you put. And give it a minute and it'll populate. But one of the things I love about this, it tells you what the total volume is, but this is telling you that there were a bunch of buyers coming in here at 43.075. They were still buying it at 05 and 06, and then they started selling it. And you can tell what's happening by going to the properties. So I just leave this to the defaulted, and you might have to double check and see what's happening, which is the buy and which is the sell, and all this, what does this stuff mean? But one thing I strongly urge you to do, keep in mind that all the little people like you and me with our little 1 contracts and 2 contracts and whatever we're trading, we don't move the market. That Mr. Bus Driver could care less that we bought 1 ticket to get on his bus. But people that are standing there with a whole bunch of tickets in their hands, that's a little different animal. So depending on the market, on crude oil, I have the block size set to 20 ticks. And that will put a color, I'll show you in a second, a whole color block in. If 20 contracts hits this, you'll get a flash of red or green on this. And then I put the size filter to 5 because that filters out all the little 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. But people that are trading 5 or 10, I think I have another one of these on a different monitor computer at 10. Those are the people that are going to cause this to move. So now what we have, let's see if we can put this back over here. That block that came through, that was 34 contracts and 34 at the sell. Okay, so 34 contracts sold here. That gives you a little clue when you're exceeding volume here about where the preponderance of the contracts are, because whoever sold that is planning on this thing going down some more. And just because you see 34 doesn't necessarily mean that's all this trader had. There could be 17 coming after that, and half a dozen 5 lots, and you really can't predict that, but you can take a look at this when you see exceeding volume and you want to know, are these buyers or sellers with this exceeding volume? This will pretty much lay it out for you. So if the trend is down and then you're very profitable with this and you see buyers coming in here, you might want to do what the buyers are doing. Depending on how your trade is and what your trade management rules are, because when those buyers coming in, they don't necessarily mean it's going up. They just want to take their profit, get out, and take it to the bank. So this is a very helpful, I think. Here's 29 contracts. They're selling 29, and they're selling them at 42.87. So they're not doing this to entertain themselves with that size. That takes a tremendous amount of leverage. Tremendous amount of leverage. So that's probably a little bit more out of our league, but it's nice to be able to see what that stuff is doing, because it gives you a hint about how much juice might be left in the bus driver's bus for him to keep going down. And then you look at alchemy, it did put in a check mark right here. There is a red trendar down here. So this, once you kind of get your head wrapped around what it's telling you, then you can set yourself up a little work area on your monitor that will tell you what it is that you want to know to place your trades. the apex indicators tell you all kinds of things, but when you have exceeding volume, you have to look to see if those are buyers or sellers. So anyway, that's out of my bag of tricks for this morning. The rest of this week, we're going to have some news this week. The big thing that seems to be what everybody's waiting, looking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is the U.S. Fed. In fact, tomorrow at 12:20, Mrs. Yellen is speaking. Again, they've tweaked these numbers around, trying to make the case to raise interest rates. Whether they will do that, who knows? But the Bank of Japan is also doing some massaging the numbers, and there'll be tomorrow evening quite a bit of economic numbers coming from Japan. And part of that, this is going to have to do with part of what their answer to FOMAC is doing and saying. Then, and this is on Wednesday, FOMAC will be making a public statement. So, and they'll announce the Fed funds rate on Wednesday. So, Mrs. Yellen tomorrow at 12:20 is going to kind of set the stage, I'm sure, for what they're thinking. Anyway, as usual, be aware of that. There is so much stuff happening in the Middle East right now between the Saudis have finally figured out that it might be a good idea not to hang their hats or whatever those things are on crude oil 100%, and they're going to try and diversify their economy. But one of the things that they are doing, they are in the process of monetizing their crude oil, and they've never done this before. So they've got a whole bunch of numbers, and what that means is they're going to take a certain portion, not by any means the lion's share, but a certain portion, and they're going to offer an IPO through Aramco on that. So that there's a lot of international interest in that from big fund and hedge managers. So that may cause some volatility this week in addition to the Fed funds. So I guess what I'm trying to point out is that we all need to pay real close attention to the news this week. It's going to, depending on what happens at any time, might cause a little volatility. So anyway, and we have the VIX coming up. VIX is trading right now at 1462, and last week it was well into the 13s. So it seems like it's coming up a little bit, and as it does that, you will notice the indices going down. TF is kind of leading the indices in that right now. So anyway, that has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. I'll see you tomorrow about noon. Thanks.